I'm Laura Morgan with Remax Northwest, and this is Katie Colgan with NEXA Mortgage. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about the buying process and what that what happens at the beginning. What do you need to have to get started, and how do you get started? So, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Katie?
So like Laura said, my name's Katie. I work with NEXA Mortgage and I am out of the Kirkland office, although I am a bit hybrid. So I find myself at home most of the time. I work here, I guess I'm licensed here in the state of Washington. And I help all sorts of different types of buyers because I have a ton of different programs. I actually can broker out to 240 lenders, which is the most nationwide. So if I don't have it, I don't know who does. But I really love having this option to help optimize my clients' home or investment purchase. How about you, Laura? Tell me a little bit about how you help your clients.
Okay, well, so I've been a real estate broker in the greater Seattle area for a very long time. Um, many years through many markets. And I mostly work the greater Seattle area, typically to the north end, and some of the east side, and also Port Townsend occasionally. So basically when I start out with a new client, ideally we would meet in person. If not, we might meet by Zoom if there's no if it's not possible to get together at the office. I do have access to multiple offices in the region through Remax Northwest, so it doesn't have to be my Seattle office. It can be, we can meet in the Kirkland office or whatever's convenient for the client. So in that first meeting, there's a lot happening there. One of the things we're doing is we're finding out, do we have a rapport? Do you like me? Am I the person you want to spend some time with looking for your home? Do you feel like I'm going to be the person that's going to help you through this process? I feel like I am. I feel like you're gonna like me and it's gonna work out. But not, it doesn't have to be, everybody doesn't have to choose me, and that's okay. We can have that first meeting, and if you feel like this isn't a fit, you can tell me, and we move on. One of the things we have to talk about in that first meeting, though, is the new laws in Washington state now require that we have a buyer's agency agreement before I can start showing you houses. So we would go through that paperwork at that first meeting. I would explain the document, explain how it works and what to expect. And we'll make another video that's just about that document because it is new and different from the way that real estate has worked in the past. But once we have, so we would, assuming that we decide we're going to work together, we would do that form, get that filled out. We would do an MLS search you would tell me what your priorities are, what is a must-have for you, and we would create a search with that. Then we would talk about the things that would be nice to have. We might put some of those things in the search, but we want a broader search. We don't want to miss a house that has everything except, that one little bonus thing that would have been great. We want just to narrow it down to the things that have everything that you absolutely must have. And then we would get that started. That'll be an automatic search. You'll get an email every time a new listing lists that matches your search so that you won't be behind. You won't miss anything. Now, if something great comes on and I see that you haven't logged on to look at it, or you haven't, you didn't seem interested in it, I might contact you to say, hey, this one actually looks like we should go see it. But most of the time my clients catch the ones they want to see and contact me and say, you can actually in the email, you can choose which houses you love. And then I can see that from my end and know that, oh, they want to go see these. So we talk a little bit about how that system works and how communication between us would work in terms of when you're ready to, you're really in the process and we're looking at lots of places. Do you want to have anything to say about?
Yeah, well, and I was gonna say I love meeting with my clients via Zoom or in person. I think it's really important, um, because sometimes you can really see how they're responding, right? And if they're understanding the information, you're giving them. So generally, when I'm meeting with someone, I might start with a phone conversation and kind of see where they're at as far as getting pre-qualified or even where they're at in the process. Sometimes they come to me and they're already pre-approved and they just want to kind of see, does this look okay? Or do you think you could do better? And so sometimes, I'm working with someone that's already going into contract.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so from there, we just really establish what their goals are and whatnot, and maybe talk about a little bit of the important factors in qualifying them. And then I have them, complete an application and upload some documents so I can verify it. So that way, when they go out and they have their pre-approval in hand, they're 100% going to be able to purchase that home. There's no question. And we know for certain that things won't fall through.
Right. And
And
I
so,
highly recommend that my buyers get pre-approved prior to us actually going and looking, because until you have that pre-approval, we really don't know what price range we should be looking at. We can kind of guess, but if we're wrong, that could be kind of devastating. If you think that you're going to be able to afford this price and it turns out you were off by 50,000, you might have fallen in love with a house in that gap that you just can't get now. And we don't want that to happen. So, it makes sense to get pre-approved. And if you don't have a lender that if you haven't already gotten pre-approved when we meet, I will give you a list of mortgage people that you can talk to. Katie's right at the top of that list. But we don't force you to work with any particular person. Just like you could have a different realtor and work with Katie. So it's not, you don't have to go with both of us just because we're talking to each other. So
100%. It has to be right for the client and they have to be
mhm.
comfortable. But something that you brought up is, getting your clients pre-approved before you go out shopping. Something else that's really important about that conversation is, what are your goals? Are you going out to buy your dream house today, or is it a stepping stone, right? Are we
Mhm.
looking for a house that's a fixer-upper? Or are we looking for the house? And sometimes today, with where prices are and rates are, it might be a stepping stone. It might be a way to
Mhm.
build equity. And I'm sure
Mhm.
as a real estate agent, that's important. So we can kind
Yeah.
of work together, right? And really optimize the
Yeah.
outcome of
And that
that
is
purchase.
a really important thing to think about in this market, because a lot of people are not, if you're just entering the market, you're not going to be able to buy your dream home in this market, unless you're just very, very lucky. So, a lot of people they say, well, should I just keep saving up for a bigger down payment? And, eventually I'll be able to get that dream home. And it just keeps staying out of reach because the prices go up faster than you're saving. So it makes more sense to do either a lower down payment loan or to buy a smaller property now, so that the value of your money is going up with that property, so that when you sell that property, you have a bigger down payment to go for your next property. So maybe you start in a condo, even though that's not really your dream home, but you stay there for a few years. Most people really only stay in their first house 5 to 7 years. It's pretty uncommon to stay longer than that. So, I've had clients that, don't even have kids yet, and they're thinking like, well, but the school district, and it's like, you're probably not going to be in this house by the time your first child goes to kindergarten. So think about your other priorities first. It's not that that's not important. It is somewhat important for resale, but think about where you are in your life and what is going to be best for you. So,
Oh, I think it's so important.
yeah, yeah,
And not having like the most perfect house to start with, that's okay. And maybe having a vision like, hey, this is a great neighborhood and this is the worst house on the block. I'm going to put some elbow grease into it and make it worth more, and so
right,
then you're
right,
even closer to that goal of the house that you want.
right. And there are mortgages that are specifically tailored to that too. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Renovation type loans.
mhm,
And something you could do is after you build a little bit of equity in your home, you could even pull out either do a cash out refinance or you could do a HELOC, borrow some money and put it back into your home. So that way it's even worth more.
right,
Another good point that you brought up, we're talking about you might not be able to buy, this dream home. That kind of reminds me of like, oh, how much money do I need to bring, right, for my down payment? And what's
that's a
that going
huge
to do,
question.
right? So it kind of depends on what program we're going with. When you're getting pre-approved with the FHA type loan, we're looking at a 3.5% down, or a conventional, it's 5% down. However, there are other programs that could help you with down payment assistance. There's a lot of grants out there right now that you don't have to pay back, and it really is determined by the individual and some key factors, but there's a lot of programs out there right now. I think people are hesitant to buy. They're wondering, should I buy right now? But really it's kind of a window of opportunity, don't you think, because
I
there's more
do.
programs.
Yeah, it's an interesting market right now because rates have gone up. A lot of people have stepped back from the market, so you have fewer buyers. So there's a little bit less competition, but people should know that prices are not coming down because of that. Because rates are so low, people are not selling their homes, because if they bought a few years ago and they've got a great rate, or even they bought 50 years ago, but they refinanced at a great rate, they're not going to go ahead and sell that house and then buy at a higher rate. They're going to try to keep that house as long as they can. And really the only people that are selling right now are people who have to, for they got transferred or some big life event has caused them to put this house on the market. So there's a lot fewer houses to choose from, and that means that even though there are fewer buyers, there's still more buyers than there are houses. So you do need to be prepared to fight for the house that you want. I'm really good at getting the house that you want. If you are pre-approved and you are able to buy that house, I can negotiate it. I can win the bidding war. So, I've done this for years, and if it's possible, I'm really good at getting your offer accepted. So, don't be scared off by that, but do be aware of it. I think I went a little off track. So what was the question?
No, you're good. No, I think, just touching base on opportunities in the market, because people are, just more hesitant to buy. But,
Mhm.
I'm thinking about people who even are in a different space. Like, say they are looking to get into a larger home. Um,
Mhm.
and so those people who purchased a house, maybe they have refinanced into this, low rate back when that was happening and they don't want to get rid of it. Well, think of it this way, your home is worth more, right? So you have more equity or down payment to put on another home. And
Right.
so if you're curious about that, I think it's always good to check in with a lender to see what that might look like.
Yeah. Another thing you might want to consider in that situation, depending on what your financial abilities are, is keeping that first home and turning it into a rental
Absolutely.
and still buying your move up home. Like a lot of people, they buy their first home, it's relatively small, and then they start to have a family or they start working from home. There's all kinds of reasons people suddenly need a bigger house. So maybe if you're able, you keep that first house, you might be able to rent it for more than the payment. And then you've got that tenant paying for that house for you and building equity. So, it can be a good long-term investment that way. And you have some passive income.
That's a
So
great.
that's another thing we can discuss. I've done that myself multiple times. So, I can speak from experience. I will say, people say, well, is this a good time to buy a house? And people have asked me that question for 30 years. And I will tell you that the answer is always yes. There's almost never a good time to buy or a bad time to buy a house, because yes, the market's going to change and it's going to go up and down. And even people that bought, in 2007 at the worst point, right before the crash, now their houses are worth so much more than they were worth in 2007. So
They
yeah,
don't
it went
sell
down
it.
for a little bit,
Sell
but if
it.
you're not selling during that downturn, it's all on paper. You haven't lost anything. It's only if you sell in 2008 that you're in trouble.
Yeah,
You know,
it's like any investment, right? They're going to
yeah,
fluctuate, equity or how much your house is worth, it's going to fluctuate and go up and down.
right,
So don't sell it when it's at the lowest point, right?
right.
Um,
Don't panic,
yeah, you gotta hold,
because,
you need to hold on to it.
especially in this area, because of the geography of the Seattle area, we don't have as much buildable land as a city like Phoenix that can just keep spreading out into the desert. We have water and mountains that really confine our city. And so the property values just they're not going to go down, not in the long term. The only way that that would happen would be due to like a major catastrophe, like if Mount Rainier blew up or something, we might see our property values drop. But for the most part, historically, you can look at it, they continue to go up. We have these dips occasionally when we have, major changes in the economy. But ultimately, if you keep, if you don't sell during that bad moment, you end up making money in the long term. And did you
Well, and you were talking to me a little bit about this the other day, Laura. You were saying how, you purchased your first house for how much did you say you bought it for? And now how much is it?
153,000, and so I bought it for 153,000, and a little house in Fremont. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? And this was in 1995. And, how will I ever pay off this $153,000 loan? And this is, I must have been crazy. And then, that house is worth over $1 million now. So I don't still have it, but I did sell it for over 400,000. So, I really did very well on that investment. And I had a place to live, you know, I mean,
That's what I love about real estate. I mean, it's the one thing where you can benefit from a few different angles, right?
yeah,
The increase of equity, and you have a place to live. I mean,
yeah,
one of the number one ways to build a nest egg for sure is to have a
right.
home or an investment.
Well, and
So,
another thing, when I moved out of that house, I kept it as a rental, like I was talking about, and I bought a duplex.
oh,
And I
really?
moved into the smaller unit in the duplex. This was when I was single and young, and I didn't need a lot of space, but I was a realtor and I wanted to invest in real estate. And so I bought this duplex. I rented out the larger unit in the duplex. I rented out the house in Fremont. And, basically my apartment cost me $400 a month because the tenants were paying the rest. And I was building equity in both these properties. So, these kinds of investments can really change your life long term. They can make it possible for you to retire someday. you know?
I really love the house hacking idea for first-time home buyers. There's programs that will allow you to buy a 2 to 4 unit and only put 5% down, which is been
Right.
a change recently, and just such a good opportunity to have someone help you pay your mortgage, and then hey, couple years, move out, buy your next home, and keep it. Such a
Yeah, well, and a
perfect.
fourplex is such a great idea because basically it's a small apartment building. And even if you don't end up living there, like you might live there now, you might want to live there for a few years, but then your life changes and you want a house or whatever. But if you keep that as an investment property, and if anything ever happens, the economy changes, you lose your job, whatever, you've always got a place to live. You can move back into one of those apartments and you've got 3 other apartments that are paying the mortgage. So I think an investment like that, especially for someone who's young, like maybe a young single person buying their first property, it's actually a brilliant move. It's a really good investment.
I almost love it too to move back down. So
Mhm.
say you hit the retirement age and you're like, your family moves out, you're ready to downsize. You could move back into one of those units and still have a little bit of an income or buy another one, right? I
Right,
love it for first time home buyers and when you're retiring and whatnot, I think that could be a great move.
right, right. I mean, you could take that equity from the big house that you're selling as you retire, and you can invest that either in more real estate or in, the stock market or something like that, where you have, if you invest in high dividend stocks, you can have income from that that's now your capital for that investment. And then you've got the income from your property, and now you've got a retirement plan. So, there's so many ways to look at this in terms of your long-term financial health, as well as, what am I going to do right now for a place to live? So it's and when we talk, we can go over what are your priorities? What are you looking for? Are you thinking long term like this? Or are you thinking, I just need a place right now? I probably am only going to be in the area for a few years, and then I'm going to, move back to where I came from on the East Coast or something like that. That's a different kind of investment. We can definitely find it and we can make it work. But if you're thinking something that you want to hold a long time, we can talk about that too.
There's so many opportunities, and I really love working with real estate agents such as yourself because we really can make the best out of that purchase and really help our clients together. So Laura, what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you if they're looking to buy or sell a home?
Well, they can call me. And my website has my phone number on it. My phone number is all over the internet. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me at morghon@gmail.com. So just my last name at Gmail. Just remember that it's 2 O's. There's no A in Morgan. So, and there's a GH. Anyway, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
You could reach out to me by phone. You can email me, or you can find me on social media. My email is kcolgan at nexamortgage.com, or my phone number is 206-854-0698. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have, and just give you maybe even some ideas and be a resource.
Yeah, I think that, talking to either of us is a great first step. And
Yeah. And then we work all together as a team. Even you as a client are a part of the team, and working all together, I think, really helps you reach your goals.
absolutely, you definitely want your mortgage broker and your realtor to be in contact and working together, and everybody on the same page. It's important that we're all on the same page. Um, yeah, good communication between everybody. we're your team. You want to tell us everything, you know, and share what you're trying to do with us. Our duty is to you. We're not going to share that with like sellers or that kind of thing. That's between us. So I think that we're running out of time. So I'm going to say this is a good start, and we'll make some more videos for you.
Yeah, please reach out if there's anything we can do, and we'll be seeing you soon.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Katie, for doing this with me.
Oh, I appreciate you so much. This is great.
This has really been a good debut.
And much
Thanks.
more to come.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.